Hi guys, and welcome to a very special episode of the APAT Show. It's Saturday night, and we are celebrating the launch of Book 3 in the Steve Ash saga. And we're doing so, Leigh, with none other than book author Robert Needham and friend of the show.
Well, absolutely. The man himself. The trilogy is complete, and we are finally going to find out the conclusion to the Steve Ash story. Can't wait. Welcome to the special show, Rob. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Yeah, doing really well, thank you. Are you both doing well?
Well, we can't complain. Obviously, it's an extra show we've had to put on this week, and that takes a certain load on us, but we're fine. You know, I was just thinking, Rob, because I got a sort of a reminder, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, but we did this at pretty much exactly the same time last year for Book 2, right? This is where you call. Right?
Yeah. I think it was maybe like a week later.
Yeah, but it was very, very similar. And that's impressive. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly impressive that not only have you written a book, the final book in the trilogy, in that year, but you've also done a whole lot of other stuff. Namely, you're sort of at the point of extending your family, and you've also moved your family. What the heck has got into you, man? How to keep yourself busy during chaotic times, eh?
That's it. Well, I didn't think writing a book was enough, to be honest with you, Des. So,
how is the family? First of all, let's start there. Let's start with day-to-day stuff. How's Christina and Evie and the rest of the wider family?
Really, really good, yeah. Evie is walking now, which has resulted in us having to move lots of stuff a lot higher than it originally had been. But yeah, she's doing really well. She's sort of saying a few words here and there, and it's all very cute and makes everybody seem to smile. So,
fantastic!
Yeah.
Well, I've seen pictures of Evie, gorgeous baby. And tell me, house move aside, and we'll touch on that. You know, how's the last year been? Are things back to normal now? Do you feel?
Yeah, it seems like that. We are. There's not very much that I don't do, that I didn't do pre-pandemic. So the only thing I haven't done yet is play Poker Live. I've still not done that, but there's still time to do that. You know, it'll ease it back in.
Plenty
I haven't got around to
plenty of time. Plenty of time to play poker, and we're in the same boat, right? So a lot of the members are out there playing. You know, some have gone to Vegas. They've been playing at the GUKPT and stuff like that. APAT hasn't come back yet, but touch wood, early in the new year we will do. But it's good to hear that, generally speaking, go back to normal. You've produced this third book. I've read an early copy of it. Absolutely outstanding, right? Did not disappoint, which is ultimately, that's the big headline, right? So tell me, Rob, as far as tonight is concerned, and Leigh, you can chip in here. What are we going to cover off in this little session? And I understand there's a bit of playing action involved as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to just go back over what happened at the end of Book 2, because it was almost a year ago, as you said, that the last one came out, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's a few people who've sort of forgotten a little bit how that ended. So,
I've got a little surprise for you on that front, but we'll come back to that. Right. I do have a surprise. I always have a little surprise. Leigh, on the poker front, what are the guys playing tonight?
Well, so what we thought we'd do, I think when we did the second book launch, we managed to get a free roll tournament up and running, but we kind of looked at the APAT schedule tonight and thought we've got two cracking little knockout tournaments that the guys regularly play on a Saturday night. So at 7 o'clock, so just literally started now, we have the No Limit Hold'em knockout, and at 8 o'clock we have the PLO knockout, both $11 tournaments, part of our weekly leaderboard ladders. So Rob and I thought, well, we'll just get people to pile into that, and we'll get some bounties. Maybe we'll run a last longer from the chat. So if anybody wants to pop in the chat saying they're playing it, we'll get them in a last longer. And what have we got to give away, Rob? What's the plan?
So plenty of books to give away, signed copies mostly, which we'll be sending out. So we've got a little competition which we'll go into about halfway through, and then in those tournaments we'll have bounties on our heads. So Leigh and I will both have a bounty, and If either of us end up re-entering, then I'm happy to put
Oh,
another bounty on.
no re-entries, Rob. Not with APAT.
No re-entries. Championship events, my friend.
All about freeze outs. So,
it's all about quality here, my friend, not quantity. It's all about quality. You should know that, right? Shirley was a renowned APAT champion, and look how far she went in your book series, right? She became a big winner in Vegas. This I recall from book 2.
So what we'll do is obviously, so the bounties that are going to be on Rob and my head when we both jump into the 7 o'clock one that's just started. So there'll be a book on each of our heads. We'll also throw in an APAT $11 ticket as well on top of that for whoever knocks us out as well, and we'll get those added to their accounts with Party Poker. So yeah, so plenty up for grabs with that. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, well listen, let's get into the main objective of our session tonight. We want to learn about the trilogy. We want to talk about book 3, of course, but you're quite right, Rob. You're quite right. You sent out a brilliant email a few days ago that had a lovely summary, right? An elevator summary of what had happened in the story up to this, book 2 in particular, right? So Leigh and I do another show, and one of the little segments on there offers the guests an opportunity, a timed 1-minute opportunity to talk through and summarize one of their favorite movies, right? And it adds all sorts of pressure to have a clock going tick, tick, tick. Because for some people, the clock is going really quickly. And for other people, it's going really slowly. So what I'd like you to do, right, your little challenge at the start of this show, is to take us through books 1 and 2, right? So if I haven't read any of these books, because I'm pretty sure if people read the first one, they'll want the second and the third. And, hopefully Sharkbait provided a great jump platform into books 1, 2, and 3, from your site. That's a free book from your site, Sharkbait. So what I want you to do is to tell the guys book 1 through to the end of book 2 what this is all about. You think you're good for that? You gonna have a go?
Yeah, I think the 60 seconds is going to feel very quick.
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. We'll throw some banana skins in if it's all proving too difficult. All right, now let's see if I can do this. So you're going to go off vision here. You don't need to be in vision for this, Rob, but we're certainly going to be hearing from you. So here we go. We're going to load up the clock, and then you go, sir. Okay.
Okay, so we start in book 1 with Steve Ash, who has a business which goes wrong, and he ends up with lots of debt that he needs to get rid of. And in order to get out of that, he decides to cheat at poker, which his old business was based on. So he takes that knowledge and starts cheating at the game. And as he gets closer to getting himself out of trouble, he gets himself into more trouble with a group of gangsters called the Jacks Mob. So into book 2, the Jacks Mob coerce him into cheating at poker for them. But Steve makes friends with a lady police officer called Jessica Rice from the NCA and starts passing information on to them. And throughout the course of book 2, Steve is passing that information backwards and forwards, and it all sorts of finishes with a big climax where some of the NCA officers are killed and some of the people get away.
Oh, that's not bad. That is really not bad.
Very good.
That is pretty impressive. I have to say, it did a lovely job there, Rob. So I'm really excited now. I haven't read book 1 and book 2, for a year. I want to go back and reread those again. Obviously, Steve, though, Steve's a tech guy, right? He's built something really quite innovative. What can you tell us about this technological innovation that he created, which gave him an edge in your first 2 books?
So in book 1, he creates very much like the the RFID cards that you have at a feature table. He creates some cards which are able to be read based on infrared cameras. So the cards themselves have little patterns designed in the back, and then the heat from the player's hands sends a little signal up to these cameras and tells them what cards the players have. And the idea behind doing that is that the casinos can work out what type of player the players have, and then they can put the ones who gamble a lot together and keep the ones who don't do very much all on the same table, to basically make money. But Steve creates some glasses which are capable of intercepting the camera signal so that he can see all the cards that the other players at the table have got. So that means that obviously he has an advantage over the other players. It's quite inconspicuous because no one's going to question the fact that he's got glasses on. The only thing that's sort of gives it away a little bit is that they're very big and bulky, almost a bit like Clark Kent glasses. That's the picture I had in my mind when I was writing it.
Oh, that's pretty good. I need a pair of glasses like that, Leigh. I feel that gives me a better chance in terms of poker. I know it certainly gives Steve a pretty darn good chance in his poker play. But listen, I don't know if you know this, Rob. I'm not even sure if you know this, Leigh. But earlier in the week, I went out to the APAT membership, right? And I said, about the glasses, that I wanted to hear from them in terms of 3 technical innovations related to glasses. What would their big headline innovations be? Right, so this is what they came back with. Coming in at number 3, let me see if I can put this up. Augmented reality glasses. Right, that makes sense. That's not too far away. So maybe your poker glasses are not too far away either, Rob. But augmented reality, that came in at number 3. At number 2, right, everybody wants some Thug Life glasses. Some of our favorite guests on the show have used Thug Life glasses before, so it'd be no surprise. Thug Life, right? That's where it's at. That's at number 2. Any of you guys guess what came in as number 1?
Are we on X-ray glasses?
Oh,
yeah.
Let's do it. Number 1, X-ray vision.
There we go.
No, I couldn't quite fathom out why people would want X-ray vision glasses. Couldn't really get that. Maybe it's for poker. What do you think, Rob?
Well, I mean, I'd be worried if it's to see the other players naked at the table. That would be my main concern.
The thing I've never sussed with that, is so why would X-ray glasses mean you could see through clothing?
I know, and not then see through the body.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
But when you're 7 or 8, and X-ray
it's
vision
the
glasses
thing,
seems like they could actually be a thing. You don't think like that.
But that's an interesting thing, though. It's one of the things I guess from taking from the book is the technology that you're talking about, Rob. It's not like way out there. We're not. No. This isn't like stuff where you're going, oh well, that's never going to happen. No one's ever going to create that kind of thing. I mean, it is very edgy that it's kind of teetering on the brink of it's probably out there now, and there's things you could do. Was that part of kind of the way you wanted to pitch that through the trilogy, and that you wanted it to be something that was realistic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't want it to be like a sci-fi kind of book. It's although there's elements of technology in it. I didn't want it to be too prevalent as part of the story. It's more of I'd like it to be there, and people understand that it's something that could exist and you could imagine happening in real life, but not necessarily something that's so far-fetched it makes the whole story ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, because in reality, a lot of the commentators who are sitting and talking through these hands, they have access to all of that information, right? They have the whole card information. They're seeing it on a screen. I mean, how far of a step would it be to have those little screens integrated into glasses? It doesn't feel like that far of a step at all, which made the story very, very credible. And you've retained that credibility throughout. So even, having read book 3, Rob, very little sensationalism in terms of the hands. It feels like it's all pretty genuine. We see a lot of the players sweating at times, despite the fact that they've got this tech. They do end up in positions which are very uncomfortable for them, as lots of poker players do, standard type poker hands. So was that an effort for you? Because I mean, it's so easy when you're writing a story to become sensationalist, right?
Yes. And to be honest with you, it wasn't that difficult to do, because I played lots of poker myself, and I've experienced those situations myself plenty of times. I'm sure I'll experience it tonight at some point, as we're playing the tournament. So one of the things that I've found through lots of stories, and I'm sure lots of people will agree as well, is that the hands that you see when they are poker hands in a film or in a TV series tend to be a royal flush versus 4 of a kind versus a straight flush versus the best full house. And it's just ridiculous. It doesn't happen in real life. I mean, I've been playing poker as an example since I was, let's say 18. And that's getting on for 12 years now, and only had my first royal flush in live poker about 3 weeks ago.
Do you hear this, Leigh? In an absolute exclusive for the APAT show, poker player says it isn't rigged.
Well, it's the cliche, it's the cliched Casino Royale scene, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that where for any non-poker players that watch that scene just were like, this is amazing. For any poker players, you were calling the cards that were due to come out, because you knew which way the story was gonna go.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, because of course the reality is, for anyone that plays poker on a regular basis, poker can be quite dull at times. There's a lot of just sitting, chucking away rubbish cards and waiting for decent cards and waiting for two big hands to collide and to do that. But obviously, when you're writing a poker fiction book or series of books, you want to have that kind of energy of where there's people are on the edge of the seat and there's always something going. So it's finding that balance between the two, between what's actually really happens and giving people some entertainment along the way.
Yeah.
I think one of the things when I was writing it was that I viewed it more like it's the poker scenes particularly are more like like the highlights you would get on Channel 4, for example. You would see maybe an hour's worth of hands, but you know that tournament's taken place over 5 days. So it's the same in the book, where it's like the highlights, and we'll jump forwards in time as the tournament goes on. And there might be one hand here, and then the next time we're talking about a hand, it's 4 hours later into the tournament.
Yeah. Tell me, Rob, in terms of writing these 3 books, have you found that your style has changed? I mean, did anything change between book 2 and book 3 in terms of the way you write, the way you approach the characters, the level of detail? How have you found this entire 3-book process as an evolution of you, from a writing point of view?
I definitely changed the way that I write. So in the first book that I wrote was This Is Where You Fold, even before Sharkbait. And there's certain things, parts of the way that you write, where there's a phrase called show don't tell. So essentially you go from saying, Steve felt sad about losing the business, to tears rolled down Steve's face as he looks into the debt bill that he had, or something like that. I'm making it up as I'm going along. So I would say that the elements of description that I've tried to make them feel more realistic in that sense, but not do it in a way where it loses the pace of the story. So I think that all of the 3 books are quite pacey, and the same with Sharkbait as well.
Yeah.
I tried to make them fast-paced books.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, it's far from always being the case, but I did find the flow in the books very, very good. I mean, it was very easy just to keep going through them. And in fact, you can polish off one of those books in a single sitting because the flow is so good. It doesn't feel like it's in any way hard work, which is brilliant. But you obviously had some new responsibilities in terms of this 3rd book in particular, because now you come into the end of a series, and inevitably there's some pressure on you as the writer to start doing some, killing, or, to shock the reader a bit. You get that opportunity when you move towards an end. How did you find that? Was that difficult?
I think that was probably the most difficult thing about the 3rd book. In fact, when I first sat down to write it, my first thought was, this is going to be easy because I know how the story's going to end. So it's just writing the story to get to that conclusion. And then as I started writing the book, things happened through the story which I wasn't expecting to happen. And it changed the way that the story finished. So I won't obviously tell you how the story finishes, but if you are interested, then I did leave what the alternative ending and the original ending was going to be in the author's notes at the end of the 3rd book. But yes, like you say, there's definitely I definitely felt there was more pressure to make sure that the characters reached an ending, because one of the things that I really don't like about some series is having lots of unanswered questions at the end. And one of the things that I've tried to do with the series to have a final conclusion and end point for the books.
You
Yeah,
definitely,
and
definitely had
who
that.
would have known that it was Simon Trumper in Trickett's room with the plastic poker rack? I mean, what a whodunit! It was fantastic.
Listen, Leigh,
yeah.
for legal reasons, I wasn't going to mention anything about a Nottingham-based casino magnate, who goes off and does all sorts of interesting things around. I wasn't going to mention anything about that at all.
I mean, what I would say has changed from the books, and this is a huge selling point for anyone that's thinking of buying the books. I mean, the first book is great. I mean, it's 200 odd pages, and then you get the second book, and it's 220 odd pages. Well, you've got them blown out the water this time. 250 odd pages in this third book. I mean, guys, you're getting value for money. Why you've not already purchased this book, I don't know, because it's just the value just keeps coming as the trilogy's gone on. It's great.
I'll tell you, Rob, have you, adapted? And we're going to go back into the book, but I've got to ask you this question. Obviously, you've got 3 books out now. You're an author, right? You're a proper bona fide author. And, I saw some pictures of you in the show business section of the Evening Standard a couple of nights, some event you were at in Leicester Square. I mean, how are you handling that sort of, celebrity lifestyle now? I'll pop this up here just so that the guys can see. Carry on.
Well, I mean, the thing with it, Des, is that you've just got to remain humble and don't let the ego get to you.
Are you even a celebrity? Are you even a celebrity in your own home? I mean, tell me at least you get that extra cup of tea in the morning, or you get that extra love somehow. Tell me.
Yeah, I think usually when I go into the sitting room, I'm getting lots of attention from Evie. She sees me and crawls over very quickly, so I'll take that.
No, fantastic. You introduced a couple of new players, right? A couple of new players in book 3. It's very exciting. These new players are using the glasses also, right? So we've got a team going. And this was interesting because it introduced a whole new sort of concept within the sort of the series, in that now, Steve's got to look out for 2 other people. That's a little unpredictable. They've got to work as a team to try and take as much money out of the big events as they can do. Was that tricky to figure out, how they were all going to work together?
Yeah, it was. I think one of the big things for me to figure out was how to make the characters different, and the way that they would play would be different to the way that Steve would normally play. And so, without wanting to give too much away, the way that Steve generally tends to play is the way that I would approach some of the hands that he's involved in as well. And then to go on to the other characters, so we have Jack, who is a big brash cockney, who kind of is almost wants to bully everyone and wants to beat everyone up sort of thing, with the cards, I mean. And then we've got Benedict, who is the sort of polar opposite end of that, where he's sort of a bit mousy almost, and quite quiet, and sort of slim, and a bit timid. And so he takes a different approach to the cards as well. And it's very varied from Steve, who I think sort of sits somewhere in the middle of that range of styles of play. So it was trying to find a way of balancing those things out. Was definitely more difficult than I thought it might be.
Yeah, and tell me, did you base any of these 2 players on anyone within poker?
Actually, not within poker. So they were based on people I know in real life. They don't
any
know
reveals?
that either.
Any exclusives for us?
I haven't told anyone. Well, I tell you what, the characters aren't that bad actually. So there's one of the characters is based on a guy I know called Jack Kavanagh, who is also Jack in the book, and he's one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet.
See a cockney? Does he walk like that? All right, mate. All right, love. Apple and pears.
I don't think he is a cockney actually, but
oh no,
I've added that bit in. But no, he's just one of the nicest guys. He doesn't actually play poker, so I'm not sure if he'll be watching this or not. But there you go.
Oh, that's cool. You got to go back and tell him, Leigh. Listen, I don't know if you noticed this, but at the end of each chapter, Rob adds a little sort of, a little notes section where
Yeah,
he explains to the reader, right, some of the technical jargon coming out of poker. It's brilliant, works very, very well. I thought he could have used one for some of Jack's East End sort of, isms, because frankly, even I didn't understand some of what Jack was saying. I needed a little note section at the end saying, apple and tart is a fart, or whatever it might be.
I love the one in book 3 where it was making the reference to the fact that poker tournaments, most people buy in using US dollars, but obviously, in America at the moment, poker is illegal.
I saw that. It was very technical.
Yeah, nicely covered off. Yeah.
Listen, I have some exciting news for you both. Right, your competition winner, Rob, for book 2 was of course Shirley Cole, and Shirley, became a character in book 2. She became a top player. It was really, really cool to see her in there with her name and all of that. Shirley, of course, joined us on our launch video for book 2. And this time around, your competition winner was Andy Watson. And Andy finds himself in book 3 in a very interesting role. Now, okay, there's no absolute guarantees here, but I think I can get Andy on the phone. He's at a tournament, as I understand it. Shall I try and bring him in and let's have a chat with him?
See what we can do.
Let's do it. Okay. Let's hope it's the right Andy Watson, eh? Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling in from? Andy.
Hiya.
How you doing, my friend?
Well, I was doing all right with my original plan, which was to register for my local tournament and then just sit out for a little while.
Yeah.
But I've just busted on the third hand.
Oh, Andy.
Andy. Oh, dear.
Andy, this is a terrible time for you to tell us this because I'm just about to big up your character, right? So you're on with myself, Des. You've got Rob, of course. You've got Leigh. And we were just talking about the fact that you won the competition for book 3 to suggest a character. And as I understand it, you went in and said, well, use my name, but Rob, you pick the character. You figure out who this character is going to be. Tell me, how did you hear about the competition? Had you read the previous 2 books? And what do you think of the end result?
Yeah, I'd read the first 2 books, and then because of that, I think I must have got discovered the first one through the various Facebook adverts and algorithms and things that popped up, because I didn't know Rob at all before this. And then obviously I was sort of seeing the social media bits alongside it, followed that, and then saw the competition and thought, well, that sounds like something I've never done before, and just entered.
Fantastic. And what did you think when you won? Did you think, oh shit, I wish I hadn't done this now. I don't know what to do next.
There was actually quite a lot of thought of that, and saying, well, look, I really don't know what to do now. So maybe somebody else could have it. Yeah, it did cross my mind. But I'm glad I saw it through, because it's been quite an exciting thing to sort of see happen in front of me.
Yeah, it's got to feel special. I know APAT was mentioned in book 2, and that felt nice. It's always nice to sort of, feel like you're a little tiny part of it. But I read book 3 over the last few days, and when Rob, Leigh, and I were talking about planning this session, Rob said, maybe Andy will join and tell us, what's Andy, what's his link in? And then I found your character and I went, Andy, I know Andy. I mean, you've just been carved into something that feels pretty spectacular there on a big stage in Vegas without giving anything more than that away. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. I was a bit shocked when I read my character, to be honest with you, because there's a big part of me that hopes none of my friends read it. At least none of my poker playing friends read it.
Oh no! And tell me, do you dream? Do you dream of that opportunity to go to Vegas and play in the big one?
I think we all do at some sort of level, don't we?
Yeah.
There's always that, and I think actually that's what I said to Rob at the time was, you know what? I think maybe just satellite me in for £100.
Yeah, okay.
and then it feels a bit more real. But I think he's used his scope there, and he's taken a bit of license with it.
Oh, I think it's worked out beautifully. As I said, until such time as I sort of, I'd probably read through a lot of the Andy Watson piece before I went, that's Andy Watson, right? Because I found myself asking myself, who is Rob basing this character on? Because arguably the character is got to be based on some pretty successful British poker player, and that was my initial question. Who is this guy meant to be?
And you were wrong there.
I was wrong. Hopefully at some point in future I'll be right, but I was wrong. But let me throw that out to Rob. Is this a character off of the shelf, Rob, or is this based on somebody who we might see under another name on the Hendon Mob, for example?
So it's definitely an off-the-shelf one. There wasn't a particular poker player that I had in mind when I was writing Andy's character. It was just wanted to make him a good poker player and have a really good, interesting background. And it's based on lots of the things that Andy's told me that he's interested in and things that he goes to do. And I may have, like Andy said, taken a little bit of creative license with some of that. Just gone from there, really.
Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And tell me, Andy, because, Rob has shared with us earlier in the stream, you won't have heard this, of course, because of your dramas. But obviously he's just sold the film rights for 13 million. Who do you want to play you in the movie?
Well, I think I can probably play it myself, to be honest.
Oh, there we go. That's the right answer. That's a poker player bluffing without glasses. Amazing. Brilliant. Leigh, did you have any questions for Andy?
Well, yeah, I was just curious to know, Andy, how was the process for you? I know you said you let Rob kind of just go use his artistic license to kind of do it, but I'm assuming there must be some. I saw in the author notes that Rob had said that that you did kind of quiz Andy about his background and kind of what got him into poker and that to kind of get some sort of background to the book. So what was the kind of, how did it work between the two of you?
Yeah, it was because I literally had no idea what I was letting myself in for. And to be honest with you, I was kind of expecting that you could have just picked one random character out of the book and just changed the name to Andy Watson, and that would probably be the end of the process. But Rob messaged me, and I remember the conversation quite well, actually, because I was driving my son over to a cricket training session, which was right out in the middle of the sticks of nowhere, and we were in the car for about an hour to get there. And so Rob phoned up, and we were chatting away about it, and my son was sort of sat next to me, and it was just really just chatting about what I like doing. There was my poker playing background, but that's pretty ordinary, to be honest with you. I'm just a recreational player that enjoys the game, and that's kind of as far as I've even got ambition to sensibly go. I don't think my wife would ever let me have 10 grand to go and enter the World Series. So, I think. I think it's so we actually got talking then about the things around the poker that I was doing, and obviously with two boys that are both coming into that doing everything sporty kind of age, that's a lot of my time and a lot of my energy and a lot of my focus at the moment. So that's where the some of the background story I developed from there, really, and so it just worked in some of those details where I think for anybody else they won't mean anything, but actually I could see, that was from that bit of the conversation, and that was from that bit of the conversation. So it was quite interesting. It was quite exciting to read it.
Oh, fantastic. Andy, listen, he did a beautiful job. The character feels very organic. It feels very, very real. It's a great character. Guys, buy the book and look out for Andy Watson. You will not miss him. But we've had the pleasure of talking to the real Andy Watson, who clearly has not had a lot of poker joy tonight. Andy,
I'm assuming, Andy, you're about to hit the cash table.
Yeah, go and sit yourself down at a cash table, lad.
Well, that's all right. We've just done the cash. That paid for the first bullet, so we might as well have another go, hadn't we?
Excellent. Oh, here we go.
Well,
there we go.
Good. Well, good luck, Andy. Hopefully, better run with the second buy-in, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely. Thank you very much, Andy.
Okay, lovely to talk to you all.
Ciao,
Take
ciao.
care.
All the best, and thanks, Rob. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers, Andy.
Oh, there we go, guys. Andy Watson, the competition winner, who does play a lovely part in book 3. Right. So where are we now? Yeah, character development, right? Character evolution. Eddie, who's always been one of my favourite characters, right? You got a picture of him in your mind. I've loved Eddie. He's got a big role to play in book 3. He's a bit all over the place. He's really, really interesting. How did you decide to sort of, take him in the direction that you did? And frankly, there was a couple of directions that he took.
Yes. I think Eddie was, although he probably wouldn't tell you if you met him in real life, and he would never admit it, he was definitely feeling under pressure from Alexander Jax. Just to get things going in the right way. Obviously, they'd had issues with the business. Some of the drugs deals that they were trying to do in the second book hadn't worked out the way they'd wanted to, and Eddie had ultimately had responsibility for some of that stuff. So in the third book, Eddie finds some of those pressures start to tell on him, and things start happening to Eddie that are a little bit out of his control, that result in lots of different things happening that kind of put him into uncomfortable situations. He's quite a confident character in general. So when he finds himself in those situations, he thinks he can talk his way out of them, but there is just too much stuff going on for him to be able to handle, really. And so ultimately it ends up with him facing a situation where he'd never really imagined himself being.
Yeah, and he's got deep hurt, right? He's got hurt that goes back a long way, that really shows itself in book 3. I thought a really interesting character. The other really interesting plot evolution that I'm clearly not going to say too much about, but I did find myself, right? It was 1:00 in the morning, right? I'm finishing the book off. I've got to a really key point in the last quarter, and I found myself shouting aloud, Jesus, Mary, and the wee donkey, right? That's what I shouted, because there's a police mole. I don't think I can say that without naming names, and it's not that straightforward as to who it is.
Yeah, that's it. One of the things one of the big things in this story is there is a mole in the NCA who's passing information back to the Jax mob. So whilst we've got Steve passing information to the NCA about what's happening with the Jax mob, we have the same thing happening the other way around, and it creates neither of them are aware of each other at all, and it kind of creates this time pressure where something's going to happen at some point. One of them is going to find out about the other, but you're just not sure which way around it's going to be.
Well, you really found a very interesting twist in terms of the way that you brought that plot along. And I guess that's, maybe that's the point here, in terms of your evolution as a writer. Book 1 is about, getting a sort of a story started and what have you. But once you get to book 3, there's a lot of intricacy in the characters, a lot of layers, a lot of stuff happening that you don't immediately see on the page, which, challenges the reader, right? It keeps you really, really sort of engaged, which ultimately is what we want from a good book, good movie, etc. Character evolution. Are there any of these characters that could pop up somewhere else in your writing?
So in future books, I don't think so, actually. My plan sort of from this point is to start afresh with a set of new characters. And I'm going to leave the characters that I've developed in this universe just in this one. I mean, I'll say never say never. There may be some that come back at some point.
Rob, I've got a marketing strategy for you. Don't worry. What we do is, this is the big deal that we've ended the trilogy. They all do this. This is what you do. So you leave it for a couple of years, and then by popular demand, you hit them back with the 4th book in the trilogy. They all do this, and we call it. This is where you re-enter. Yeah.
No. That's not the way to go, Leigh. I mean, I like your thinking. I think that's the 5th book in the series. I think book 4 is probably Steve at school walking around with a little roulette table, right? He's at
Oh,
school.
oh, we go pre. Yeah, we
He's
go right
13
back.
or 14, right? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
I think we go pre, then we go forward for book 5, and then we go back into Steve's childhood, early childhood, for book 6.
Yeah, and then we start the spin-off, one-off stories. You know, just individual characters. You know.
Eddie the Eagle, for example.
Everybody wants to know Gloria's backstory. That's what they're all interested in. Yeah, that's what they all want to know. Yeah, that's the one. She could be a character on her own. Literally, just an entire book of her just talking you through her sex life. That will be. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Those sorts of books do sell well, Leigh. So you might be also a winner there.
We know we buy those books, right? Don't you know? We buy those books. I have a question, Grant, who's been a character he's come on the entire journey with you. Why didn't he follow his instincts more in book 3?
So Grant's got lots of things going on.
Yes.
He starts off the story sort of a bit suspicious of Steve. He kind of is almost onto the fact that something's a little bit fishy, and he gets to that decision by looking at the Hendon mob, where he can see that Steve's only ever cash tournaments in first place. So he then takes that and starts looking into the play and trying to understand why that would happen and what's sort of what foul play may or may not be happening. But at the same time, he's got his family to deal with. He's got 2 young daughters, and his wife is suffering from motor neurone disease. And so there's an element of he needs to spend time looking after them and making sure that they are able to live the best life that they can, whilst also maintaining the fact that he has to win money by playing poker and not letting his personal life affect him. And then he's got this extra thing with trying to find out whether Steve's actually up to something or not. And in the end, I think, well, there's all of those things coming into play. So it just changes the way that Grant approaches the way, changes the way that Grant approaches the problem.
Yeah. There's a lovely sort of twist at the end, right at the end, where we perhaps take a peek at the future. And Grant's got a pretty interesting part to play in that, which, to be honest, again, feels very real life for poker players and where this industry is at the moment. So that's pretty cool. I guess the other character that I would imagine a lot of your readers really like this character is Achilles, of course. And we left him sort of on the run at the end of book 2, right? And, he is in a very, very challenging position. He has a great plot for book 3. I think I can say that. He feels like a character that could transfer into, any other sort of fiction type of story. He's very, he's very cool. You can't just let Achilles not appear somewhere else again. I mean, your fan base is going to leave you.
You're not the first person to say that, Des, actually, since the books have come out. And in fact, Andy was the person who was touting for an Achilles standalone novel. So he's definitely one of the most popular characters in the stories. And in fact, I think he might be one of my favorites as well from the series. Just a really cool guy who is quite laid back generally and just wants to have a good time, basically, and that's all he's there for. But he's very loyal and very just likes the people he's friends with and thinks they're all sort of going to be friends with him. And then, of course, at the end of book 2, we find out that actually everyone's trying to get rid of him. So the police are trying to catch him, and the Jack's mob are trying to kill him. So not in a good way at all.
It's not good, Leigh. I love this character. All of that stuff is going on around him, and still he finds a bit of time to listen to a bit of Vivaldi. Be calm, go nice and easy.
That's what you want. Talking about say nice and easy. We should just mention we have got this the APAT tournament tonight that started at 7 o'clock. So Rob and I are going to jump in it at some point. I guess any time from now we will jump into this tournament. It's an $11. It's the APAT Saturday Knockout Tournament, $750 guaranteed. It's currently got 44 runners in it. Rob and I are going to jump in it. It's a real name tournament. So you'll easily be able to find Rob. All right. If you knock out Rob or myself, you'll get a signed copy of the book from Rob and an $11 APAT token from ourselves.
Fantastic.
So we will be jumping in this any point soon, because I'm very wary that time is ticking on quite quickly. We haven't even mentioned yet, Rob, how people can even get hold of a copy of these books if they want to. I mean, perhaps we should
look at the screen, lad. Look at the screen.
We should just. But at the moment, book 3 is only available via Kindle, isn't it? So
yeah, so
that's right. So when will we get the proper, the proper paperback copies available?
So it should be, it's at literally any minute now. I'm waiting on Amazon to upload it to the website. So everything is sort of set and ready. I was hoping to have them actually a couple of days before the ebook launch so that there was time for it to be shipped. But it just seems like something is taking slightly longer at Amazon than it normally would do. So yeah, just keep checking the ebook page, and the paperback will appear at some point. Yeah. Of course, when it does, I'll be sending out.
I mean, as a I say, we'll say fledgling author, but I mean, this is, obviously this is the third of the trilogy. Plus, you did, done Sharkbait before, and I know you've had other influences. How easy have you found the whole process? Obviously, you're solely going through Amazon, so as a kind of a retailer for yourself. So how do you make those decisions? I mean, do you have you got a load of people working behind the scenes that we don't even know about, or is it literally just it's you and a lot of time and effort?
Essentially, it is like you say. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. The space where I have the most outside help is with the editing and the advanced review copies that go out. Well, I was going to say in advance to the other people as well, who then read it and give me feedback on how they think the story works, and hopefully go on to leave reviews as well, and spot errors and little things like that. So that's where I have the most amount of input in terms of deciding where to have the books. So over the last year, the books have actually been available across lots of different websites. So in Google Play and the Apple Bookstore, and on Kobo and Barnes and Noble and places like that. But I decided to go exclusive with Amazon because Amazon runs a subscription service, which you can only get into if you are an exclusive author. Not a decision that I was actually that excited about, because it does mean that if Amazon suddenly decide they want to change something, then you're sort of at their control, really. But the flip side of that is that that's where the majority of my sales happen. And by not being in the subscription service, I was losing sales that I probably could have had. So it was a tough decision, and like I say, I don't like I'd like the idea of being diversified across lots of the stores, but unfortunately it was based on the fact that most of my readership is on Amazon. So that was the reason for that. But for the readers who are in the other stores, what I would like to tell you is that if you can send me a screenshot of the first and second book within that store as a purchase book, then I will give you the third book for free, so that you're not forced to go into Amazon. I know lots of people don't like buying things from Amazon, and I don't want you to feel like that's the only place to get it. So that's just something that I wanted to mention awesome as well.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, Amazon is so big, Rob, that if you do manage to carve out your niche on Amazon, you can definitely succeed and be massively successful, in sales terms, through an exclusive relationship with them. And you've got to be happy with the way things have gone so far. You've hit some of the sort of sales ladders there. You've done very well in some of the niche segments, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was tallying it up the other day. I was trying to work out how many books I'd actually had downloaded, because I didn't know. And was surprised to find that it was just over 4,500, which is like not the number I'd had in mind. I'd gone into it thinking maybe it'll be just slightly over 1,000 sort of thing. And then when I started tallying them up, the number just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it's been great. And lots of the feedback that I've had from people has been really positive on the books as well. So like you say, it's finding that niche and getting it to the right people, basically.
Yeah. How do you crack you know, a big reviewer or something like that, be it a magazine or an individual, a newspaper, you know, is it at all possible to crack that space without having large sort of checkbooks behind you?
It's a good question because I haven't really managed to do it yet. I think the biggest reviewer that I've had is Paul Seaton,
Yeah.
who is a journalist, poker journalist, and has lots of articles. He's writing for Cards Chat a lot at the moment. He reviewed the first book, which he didn't tell me he was going to do. He literally tagged me in a tweet after he'd written the article and published it, and that was amazing to get the book in there. I'm still in touch with Paul as well, so we chat quite regularly, which is good. But yeah, the other big places, I think it's quite difficult to do without, like you say, a big checkbook behind you. Obviously, lots of the big places like the newspapers and other places like say the New York Times bestseller list or the Sunday Times bestseller list. They're very, very difficult to get into those types of lists. You have to sell an awful lot of books to get there. And yeah, I think getting noticed by those types of people is tough to do without selling thousands and thousands and thousands of copies. So.
And I don't doubt for a minute that it's also tough because, you know, the niche we're talking about here is poker. It's misunderstood by a lot of people. A lot of people don't sort of get it and might be afraid that it's going to be too technical for them and all of that sort of good stuff. But what do you think is next for you as far as writing is concerned? So if, you know, as you've said, we're going to let these characters sort of, you know, gently go out to pasture. Do you think will you stick within a poker niche, or will you widen your sort of market?
So I think the next series. Well, I can tell you a little bit about the next series.
Oh, okay.
I've actually already started writing it.
Great.
So the next series is going to follow. There are going to be elements of poker in it. It's going to be less technical than the first 3 books. Have been. So there's going to be more things. It's more around reading tells of people and using people's body language to find out the answers to questions and that type of thing. So it's a slightly different view actually on the poker genre. But then the rest of the stuff is going to be a murder mystery. So the main character is called Blake Sterling, and his father is going to fall to his death, and then from that point, the police will write it off as a suicide, but Blake is convinced that it isn't, and so he's going to try and find out who the murderers are, and that's going to be the crux of the story. So
wow,
yeah,
where's it based?
It's going to be based in London.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
he fell off of the Shard, Leigh.
So yeah,
or maybe he fell onto the Shard.
Talking about London, Frankie B's in the is in the chat saying, "Hi Rob, any Shikari tickets for London the gig in December?" So
oh, I thought that was Shikari, the player that used to play for Liverpool. It's not that Shikari, no.
I don't know if you can see my T-shirt. I've got it's a band called Enter Shikari. Yeah, sadly not. I'd love to see them. I've never seen them actually.
Oh. Listen, Rob, we got to talk off air because this whole sort of story based in London, I'm not sure. I want zombies, Rob. That's what's required to succeed today. We need zombies. What else do we need, Leigh? We need some sort of Armageddon moment. Probably a comet.
We need something. All I know is I've just entered this this bounty tournament and I'm bust already. I've just had my queens bust by actually up against Ace King and King Jack, and they managed to hit a king. So I'm already done, Rob. Unfortunately, genuinely, I wasn't playing at all. You know, risky poker. That was proper. It was queens. I mean, like that's proper premium. That is.
Yeah. Do you have a name for us, Leigh? Somebody presumably has taken your bounty.
I have
they
a
may
name.
not know.
I have a name, and I doubt they know. So,
That's
but
fair enough.
I will have that name, and I will pass it on to Rob should they get in contact. Obviously, they do need to. Yeah, they do need to be on the stream and aware of the of what we're doing. So, but yeah, good luck to that player. But yes, so there's 53 already in that. Just on it hit the break at the 5 to the hour. So Rob, I was going to ask you, I think we touched on this when we did the second book launch, that obviously everyone, when someone writes a book, everyone next thing is talking about TV and movies and and where it could lead to. But I was curious to know your take on who's done poker in mainstream media well, whether it be a movie or some sort of TV. So, and then more the fiction side of it. So whether they've introduced it into the series or they brought it in well. Who do you enjoy watching and seeing that has that kind of element in their writing?
I would say the most classic example of that, of course, is Rounders, the film, which is beloved by everybody who plays poker. There have been some good scenes in Billionaire. I think it's called Billionaires.
Billions.
Yeah,
Billions. Yeah. Very love that series. Love that series.
Really good. There's a poker tournament in one of those, which is really good as well.
So so here's my link on Billions. You know, one of the writers on Billions is a guy called Ben Mesrick.
Oh, right, really?
And
okay.
you know, obviously, I'm assuming you've heard of Ben. I don't know whether you will have, Des. Maybe
the card counter.
Haven't. Yes. So he wrote Bringing Down the House, which was effectively the
MIT, right?
That the film 21 was based on. Which again is one of my favorite films. But his writing, some of his books are incredibly good. The stuff that he does, but yeah, he's been a writer on Billions. So interesting that you say you enjoy that series, Rob, because it's kind of all ties in.
Leah, listen, taking that TV or that movie theme just a little step further, I don't know if you know this, but of course we're all familiar with this lithe, almost Cadbury's Dairy Milk style character, which reflects a key character in the book, right? He's always sort of walking away or running away. We don't ever get a clue as to what he really looks like, but I was able to uncover the character, and this is he.
Wow.
Rob recognizes him. It is, in fact.
What, you've been very kind with the body shape there.
That's what I imagine Steve Ash looks like. Okay, if he's walking or running away, that's what he looks like. He's like young Rob. Fantastic.
Would you see this trilogy as a potentially as a movie, with the 3 books together, or do you feel it could be a whole kind of Hobbit, Lord of the Rings style thing, and stretch it out with a few more cinematic Vegas scenes and stuff like that?
We need Vegas.
Definitely. No, I think if it was going to be turned into films, I'd like it to be done as 3 separate ones. As I've written the books, I've always imagined them to be films in my head, but I think the more sort of series that I've seen, I kind of like the idea of it also being a limited series. So something like I forget the name of it now, but the chess show on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the Gambit, Queen's Gambit.
Queen's
right?
Gambit.
That's it. Yeah. Where it's like 6 episodes long. I think that would be quite cool as well.
Seriously, they made Squid Game, so to be honest, Rob, there's a serious possibility, this could actually happen. Yeah, it really could.
Well, in Andy Watson, you've got a guaranteed actor, right? Andy is there, he's ready to go, and I dare say, albeit I'm not sure if you'd want him in it, that Phil Hellmuth would be willing to get involved because he does like to get involved in stuff. What have you made of his outbursts over the last, I think 3-4 days ago? He had some incredible outbursts at a final table of a WSOP event. What did you make of it?
It's Phil Hellmuth all over, right? I don't think it's anything anyone's going to be that surprised to see.
I don't know. I thought it was very heavy. I mean, I've got the video, but I don't even want to play it because I don't think I don't think we're at watershed enough to be able to play that sort of stuff.
The trouble is, Des, we as a poker community, we're all quick enough to moan about there's no characters left in the game. And poker needs to be entertaining, and it needs to be, and yes, maybe sometimes he goes down the wrong route of that, but you can't ever say that he is not bringing attention to the game, whether it be good or bad.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
In his outbursts, and we all know. I mean, we've been lucky enough to have him on one of the other shows that we do, and okay, he's kind of a magnet for his own ego, but at the same time, he was genuinely pleasant and entertaining.
Oh, he was superb.
And it was fantastic. And just to be part of that for an hour while we recorded the show was incredible. I must just say, Rob has sat down in this tournament. Now, I don't want to bring you any bad luck, Rob. Okay. However, you have sat down in the seat that I exited from.
Oh no.
Yeah, so the guy to your left. Yeah, that's the one you got to watch out for.
We call him Johnny Two Books. You'll understand why in a minute. Well, listen, guys, if Rob has sat down at the table, then obviously it's time for serious business to start. So maybe this is a good point to bring our discussion to a close. Rob, before we do so, is there anything else you'd like to sort of add in relation to the third book?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I wanted to add is that when people get to the end of it, I hope that they see Steve not as a bad character, because clearly he's doing not a particularly moral thing by cheating at the game, but just more as a nice guy who's made a mistake, and that's kind of the end that I want people to kind of come to.
I think you end on a beautiful moral as well, Rob. It is a kind of just a nice general, take that away, everybody, because it's if you only read one paragraph in all three, read the last paragraph, because actually it tells you all you need to know about just we'll get on with how life should be. I think it's good.
I was looking to find Eddie with a Kalashnikov just rolling through everybody in the Amazon, right? The Amazon casino in Vegas. That's what I want, but you didn't give me that. You kept it sane.
That's what book four's for, Des. That's what book four's for.
Listen, a beautiful body of work, very well written. Rob, you can be supremely proud of your efforts, and I'm sure it's only just sort of, set you up on a platform for the next project, and we all can't wait to find out more about that.
They say everybody's got a book in them. Well, this guy here has got not just 3 cracking books, Sharkbait before that, and I have no doubt many books to come. I really do.
We cannot wait, sir. So please just promise us that when book 1 of the next project is ready to be talked about, that you're going to come and talk to us first.
Definitely, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, that's the note we're going to leave it on, guys. The tourney's going to continue on now for the next, in Rob's case, 5 to 10 minutes, because he sat very close to Johnny Two Books. Leigh is out, so he's going to cry somewhere for a little while.
Before match of the day, perfect.
Absolument. I'm going to speak to the showbiz editor on the Evening Standard, try and get some exclusive quotes from this video into his product, so that I get invited to some of the events that you get invited to, Rob. That's what I want.
But don't forget, guys, the important thing is the Kindle version of the third book in the series is out now. You can get that on Amazon. All 3 books are available on Kindle version. The first 2 are available on paperback already. They're, I think, $7.99 and $8.99 in Amazon at the moment. And the paperback version of This Is Where You Bluff, the third in the Steve Ash trilogy, should be hitting Amazon sometime in the next week. So buy both. Get it on Kindle. Get the. It's always
get the hardback.
Look, it's that you want these are what you want. You want the proper book versions. And mind you, these are limited edition now, because Rob's changed
the cover. Changed the cover. So limited edition.
These are worth a fortune.
It's immediately up at £2 or £3 each of those.
They're about to go back into my sealed air conditioned book vault for when Rob absolutely hits the big time.
Listen,
and then eBay, here I come.
Listen, I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks like that, because when Rob sent sent us a message saying, "Oh, I've changed the covers, guys. Can you change it in the various things we're doing?" I was there going, "Yes, that means the first one is now a first edition."
It's
I
like,
love that.
if you got that first Harry Potter book, oh, you're absolutely minted. Yeah.
Right. And with that, guys, have a great rest of week. Leigh and I are back tomorrow evening with the APAT Show, 10 o'clock here on Twitch Poker, but also on Facebook. So we shall see you then. But until the next time, Rob, sail well, my friend.
Thank you very much.